Hi guys, it's Steffi from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to talk about my favourite adult reads of 2018. I've broken this series up into a couple of different categories, so I will probably have already posted my most disappointing reads of 2018 just to get that out of the way. And I'm also going to be talking about my favourite adult reads, my favourite young adult and middle grade reads, and also my favourite covers of 2018. Now that doesn't mean that all of these books were published in 2018, a lot of them were, but for the most part it's just the things that I read in 2018. They're in no particular order. I really can't put these things into order. I just like to have them out there as things that I really enjoyed for various reasons. I'm not going to spend too long on each book because I've already talked about them in Books Beside My Bed videos this year, but I will sort of just give a brief reason about why I enjoyed it. The first book I want to talk about is Jane Stewart by Lindsay Fay. This was recommended to me by Kirsty from Melbourne on My Mind, and I absolutely adored this book because it is a Jane Eyre retelling, sort of, with the main character Jane Steele, except Jane Steele kills people. And the romance in this was fantastic. It is sort of a historical fiction crime book, and I'm not a huge historical fiction person, but I really loved this. I loved Jane. She was an amazing character. I loved the story. I love how her relationship with Mr. Thornfield develops in this book. His history in it was so interesting and fascinating as well. So I really loved this and I want to reread it at some point. I don't know if I'll get to it next year, but I hope if I get through all of the books that I need to next year, I can reread this sort of towards the end of the year. Legion, The Many Lives of Stephen Leeds by Brandon Sanderson is a collection of novellas following Stephen Leeds, who is a schizophrenic who has the ability to learn new things constantly, and as he learns new things he creates a new persona to embody that knowledge, and thus he sees all of these personas around him and he treats them as if they're people. His mind is incredibly populated by all of these personas and his interactions with them are fantastic. There are a few little mystery plots in each of the novellas, and with the help of the various personas that exist inside his mind, Stephen is able to sort of solve these mysteries. I really loved this. It was fun, it was easy to read, it is more sci-fi than fantasy, which is good for me, and it really did make me want to pick up more Brandon Sanderson books. You know, after I basically told everyone that I wasn't going to do it. So I have to go back and eat my words, really. The next book I'm classifying as adult. A lot of people would classify it as young adult, but I'm just going with it because I think it's more adult than it is young adult. And that is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor, which is book 2 in the Strange the Dreamer series. It just has beautiful writing. I loved Strange the Dreamer. I loved the conclusion in this. I loved how everything wrapped up. I loved how complex it got and how we got to dive in to some of the other characters and really learn about their history and why they are the way they are. Record of a Space Born for You by Becky Chambers is the third book in the Wayfarers series, but you don't have to read them in order. I think it's helpful. I've read them in order, but you could read this on its own. It is the story of a generation ship and the people who left Earth many decades or centuries before. And this follows the humans that are still left on board this generation ship. And we get the perspective of someone who is a descendant of someone who left the ship coming back to it to actually learn about it. You also have an alien coming to the ship to document the humans' history and how they record keep. It deals with family, it deals with death, it deals with life, and it's beautifully written. I adored this. I know that it wasn't everyone's favourite, but I absolutely adored the themes in it. I couldn't put it down once I started reading it. All Systems Red by Martha Wells is a science fiction novella. It is super short. It is really fun. It follows Murderbot, who is a security cyborg agent who's hacked its own programming. It now is in charge of itself, but it still does its job because it likes its job. It just doesn't really like interacting with humans. On a job on an alien planet while protecting a team of human scientists, Murderbot finds itself in the precarious position of having to defend these humans from a corporation who are trying to take their research. The best thing about this is Murderbot's personality, and Murderbot is neither a he nor a she as far as I can tell in the series, so you don't really know, but it is completely obsessed with soap opera dramas that it downloads and spends all its time watching. I love it. It is so funny, and the rest of the series is great too, but All Systems Red is definitely my favourite of all four. Circe by Madeline Miller is a very recent favourite. I only read this in December and I absolutely fell in love with it. I loved the storytelling style in this, and I loved how each chapter is its own contained story in the history or the mythology around Circe. Circe is the daughter of a Titan and the first witch, and it is how her story intersects with many other heroes and gods from the Greek myths. And it was just stunning, and the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I love this cover. And I just wanted to know more. I was really intimidated by it when I first decided to pick it up, but now that I've read it, it's just gorgeous and I can't stop singing its praises. The theme is Files Trilogy, Sleeping Giants, Waking Gods, and Only Human are 3 books that I read this year and absolutely love them. It starts off when a young girl falls into a hole in the ground and lands in the palm of a giant metal hand. And this sparks her lifelong journey to uncover the secrets behind this hand as she grows up, and she finds herself on a team to study this hand and where it came from and who might have created it. It's just an awesome exploration of what humans do when faced with alien technology. It is about relationships, and I love the format where it's all told in diary entries and interview logs. I listened to them in audiobook. They were amazing. I can't recommend that highly enough. I've been talking about it all year. Just do yourself a favor and pick them up, even if you only read the first book. The last book that I want to talk about is a book that I read right at the start of the year, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it all year. And whenever I see someone else talking about it, I get irrationally excited, which tells me that this is a really good book. That is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stewart. This is published in the US as The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Evelyn Hardcastle follows a man who is trying to solve the murder of Evelyn Hardcastle, who dies every night at the same time. And every time he falls asleep, he wakes up in the body of a new person and thus gets a new perspective on what actually happened. And he's trying to piece together the entire story from these various perspectives. It sounds really weird, and it takes probably about 100 pages to actually get into what's happening and the constant changes in characters and who the characters are. But if you can push through that, it is a really, really interesting sort of science fiction thriller book that I have not really read anything like before, and I really loved it. It's definitely another one I want to reread. In the comments below, let me know, what are your top adult reads of 2018? I would love to know. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you are having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye guys.